So we here, sat in 2020, like to think that we've got stuff pretty nailed down, but actually this gun here from 1830 is the most powerful air rifle ever made, almost-ish. So this is a G&J Dean air rifle, a proper air rifle, not an air cane. And we're going to talk through some of the various components. We're going to start with this. This is the air reservoir. Inside here is a tube that goes down here, turns a corner, and comes up and turns around. It's all obviously hand forged and hammered out. It is then surrounded by plaster of Paris and wrapped in shagreen with these beautiful little metal accoutrements at the butt and neck. Interestingly enough, these were tested, or certain ones of these were tested back about in the 70s, and they were tested up to about 5,000 psi before the seals gave way. Interesting, some of the seals in this are actually made of cow horn, because it's about one of the only materials that would take some of the pressures they were talking about. That in itself is rather fascinating. It's reassuringly heavy, by the way, so the metal walls in here, after picking up air cylinders on modern guns, are thick and metallic. So that would be pumped up from a pump that I'll show you later, and then screwed to this action. That action has a little valve in the back, and this is a very long process, so bear with me. Very simply from there, you take the gun and you attach a barrel. The barrel also screws on. We have two barrels here. This is what gets really exciting. And the first barrel we're going to talk about is this one. This is the rifled barrel. So this fore end will just pull off, he says, easily enough. And this gun is in insane condition for 200 years old. But the best thing about it, before we go any further, is where there's no black powder put through this rifle, the rifling, and generally when you see older rifles, when they are shot, the rifling is rotten out. With this, the rifling is absolutely mint and as it was. And the browning is as was as well. Interestingly, chat to the guys here and they say we can spot a fake or a refinished gun a mile off because the browning is brown, when the browning should be this dark brown, black, almost black colour. Which, I mean, this is beautiful. But for me, it's the fact that you can see the rifling on the teeth of the lads, and they are, I mean, it's crazy. Most old guns, as I said, are usually rotten out, so this is quite beautiful. This then quite simply screws onto the gun. Thus, something, by the way, this action is engraved for the period, and it's exceptional. It really is exceptional, simple but perfect in every way, on every surface. So as you can see, there is a stag, a red stag, a little oval on the top there with all that beautiful scroll work. And this is very interesting because this air rifle is not built for what air rifles are built for today. But air rifles today are obviously built for rabbits, small game, and there's some larger ones that are built for larger stuff. But on the whole, it's viewed as air guns of small game. This air gun is very much used and built and designed for shooting deer at 100 yards. In fact, some of the original air rifles of the era, which is, well, let's talk about this very quickly, is firstly, this gun is now not worth a great deal. £3,000 or £4,000 in the grand scheme of things for a 200-year-old air rifle that is in such great condition is not a lot. But at the time, this gun would have cost about 20 times what a best shotgun would have cost. So it was related to me by the guys here that it would be the equivalent today of just going out and buying a McLaren F1, would be buying this. And the reason that was twofold. Firstly, it was quite hard to make. Making shotguns was easier. Making this with the air reservoir and the pump and all the bits was harder to make well. Secondly, is there are a lot of laws against air guns, and you had to be fairly well-to-do to have one in the first instance, to get a license, to get permission to own one. And this was because they were silent. So they obviously didn't want a lot of them about, getting in the hands of poachers and the like, because a gun that was silent at the time, well, they didn't exist, for starters. Poaching, other crimes that could be committed with a quiet gun, they needed to be kept exclusive. And exclusive they were. Interestingly, so this gun with the rifle barrel, as we said, is run off a valve system in the back So when you cock it and fire it, the valve and the pressure closes itself. It's a very simple system that's used today, very similarly today on a lot of air guns. So you'd get less power to more power to less power. But providing that your man charged it up correctly with this stirrup pump, I'll show you in a sec again. Yeah, accurate to about 100 yards. So there are obviously military ones used by the Austrian Jaegers, and they reckon that they were lethal. And this is a very similar system, lethal on a man and accurate to 200 meters. Given at the time that the next best thing, a musket, or a very basic rifle, was sort of accurate to about 50 or 60 meters, a 200 meter dead silent and accurate thing was quite a big deal. To the point that when they captured these snipers, let's call them, they used to cut their hands off, torture them, do all sorts because of the devastation that they could wreak. Anyway, that's an aside. This gun is very similar. Apparently the whole issue with them and the military was the fact that they carried these spare cylinders on their belt or whatever, and a little bit of dust, as we all know, today can cock up an air gun's operating system. Back then could do much the same. So there. What gets really interesting with this gun is that it comes with a second barrel. And this is what made me very excited over and above the other. And it's that this barrel is a smoothbore designed as a shotgun. So you've got these little wads. It's designed to be attached and muzzle loaded as a proper shotgun and rifle set. What's also quite cool is this gun could be owned off ticket as long as you don't intend to fire it, but could be owned on ticket to fire it and potentially then taken off in the future. Not that that would be of interest to most people. The chances are it would work, but obviously being an antique, it hasn't been tested as such. There you go. I fell in love with this gun. We've literally just got here to Holts, and I genuinely think this is one of the nicest things I've seen here to date. Certainly one of the rarest. Probably not the rarest thing that we're going to see here today, but just everything about it is still beautifully and exceptionally engineered that it would stand up today. Let alone that when you push this little tap around and get your little ball and drop your little ball in there. There's obviously not ready for it at the moment. Drop your little ball in there and then send that hurtling through that amazing rifling with an air gun to shoot a deer at 100 meters stone dead. That doesn't look horrific, that is a beautiful, beautiful sporting arm. Obviously illegal to use it for that nowadays in the UK at least. It's just stunning. G&J Dean, 30 King William Street, London Bridge. What an absolutely amazing piece of history. I think I'm genuinely in love with that. Nicest air gun of all time? If it is not the most powerful, it's got to be the nicest. Beauty.